We need to learn Teda and Teda's Megan. This should be a Shua for problems. Shua's Hashem Kehedav Ayin. Okay, today's Gemara is that Nun Ches Amid Aleph. Nun Ches. Today's Aleph is Nun Ches. We are up to actually right in the middle of the page by the two dots. The Mishnah said that if you are Mekadesh a woman, which is something which is Asabah, no, you cannot have any benefit from it, then she's not Mekadesh because you're not giving her anything. However, if you sold that item, for example, you sold the cheeseburger, the basta b'chalub, which can't have any benefit, the money is permitted, and you can give her that money, and with that money, she is Mekudesh. That's what we're going to learn now, because by Avodah Zarah, for example, we say that if you swap the Avodah Zarah for money, the Avodah Zarah remains forbidden, the money remains forbidden. So, and by Shemitah as well, if you swap the Shemitah, let's say, for money, the money becomes Aser. The original Shemitah is Aser as well. So why is it by Kiddushin, we're going to say that by Basar B'chalav, for example, the money becomes permitted? That's what the Gemara is going to discuss. How do we know that? Machran, if you sold this item, the Kiddush b'demein, and you use that money to be Mekadosh and Mekadeshes. So how do you know that? So you know why? Because when it comes to Avodah Zarah, the Torah clearly states that the object that you transfer the Avodah Zarah to is Aser, just like the original Avodah Zarah. So kosher anything which comes, so derivative from the Avodah Zarah, Hareyu Kamayu is just like it, is Miklal. So from here we inferred the Cholus Torah, sure, but everything else is permitted. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? If the Torah says it in one place, usually we compare everything else to it. So on the contrary, if the Torah informed us by Avodah Zarah that the money has the same status as the original Avodah Zarah, so therefore we should say the same thing applies to every Asabano, that the Isa should transfer to the money. Let's learn from there. So as the Gemara, the usual thing could have two psukim. Should have Avodas Kachavim, Ushvius, because Avodah Zarah and Shemitah is Shnei Ksuvim Haboyin Ke'echad. Is two psukim teaching you the same thing. What is two psukim? We'll see them in the Chosh. If the Torah has to repeat the same din twice, it means it's limited to these two cases. Avodas kachavim hodam, we just said that, and shvius. The other one is shmita. Mahi, what's the story there? It says in the pasuk by shmita, yovel he kodesh tilachem, that this everything should be considered holy to you. And ma kodesh, just like when it comes to hegdish things, toifis as dam of that what. That the Kedusha gets transferred to the money, af shvius toifes the mass. So too by Shemitah, if you transfer the Shemitah to money, it gets the money itself has now the status of Shemitah. So the obvious question is, ima kodesh toifes as dam of the yotzei. What happens to an animal if you redeem it? Okay, hegdish, you redeem it. The hegdish becomes now chulin, and the money is what became property of hegdish. So the same thing about Shemitah. If you take crop of Shemitah and you will. They buy whatever, exchange of money, that the money should become Shemitah, but the original crop should become no longer Shemitah. The Torah says Tihiyah. It says Kodesh Tihiyah. And the original should remain what it is. Plus, the new thing becomes Kodesh. But how about that the original stays the way it is? So how do we work that out? He explains. Okay, so for example, Lokach, for example, you took Peidish Shvius, you took a Peidish Shemitah Bossa, and you bought it meat. So the Elum is buying Shvius. The original fruits is Shemitah, but you have to get rid of it by Pesach time. And so too, the meat that you exchange it for. What happens now the next stage? The Bossa dogim, you took that meat and you swapped it over for fish. So what happens is as follows. Yotza Bossa says the meat essentially is not really Shemitah. It just has a peripheral kedusha there. You now transferred that peripheral kedusha to the fish, but the original kedusha of the shemitah still remains. Sudagim takes the place, supplants the meat. Bedagim, you took the fish and now you swapped it for wine. The wine takes over. The yayin shemen. Why the Mishnah? Why Bryce? Yeah, once we get the principle, we got the principle. Yotzi yayin nichel shemen. Okay, so what's the bottom line? Whatever the last transfer, because that's the peripheral, that's transferable, and the original essence is never transferable. That means us. Okay, so therefore you have two psukim teaching you that the Isa passes on to the money. Tais is another trying to mask. The reason why the Torah has to repeat Shvi it's not extra. The din is so different. When it comes to Avodah Zarah, if you keep on changing it, they all remain Asr. It's only by Shemitah that we say that it's the first and the last. So you need it for that. So this, because the din is different, it varies from avodah zarah. So it's no longer redundant. So one of the answers is, we'll just stick with this one, that the main thrust of the pasuk is not to tell you the middle stages of mutter. The main thrust is that the Easter is transferable, and that is redundant. The details is a separate thing.
How can we not learn from the pasuk of Esler Zayna Mechir Keres? Because you see there,
that's something that's you pay. It's a pasnish for a gavoya for avodah zarah. That's only from his back first of all. But it's kosher. You're allowed. No. But it's kosher. You're allowed to eat it. It's only for the mizbeach. And we radiated yesterday in general rule that if it's only for the mizbeach, that's not the issue here. There are a different set of rules over there. Again, we're going to go back to the same story. That's only good if you hold that two psukim cannot teach us. Elamandam, like Rabbi Yehuda says, melamdin, that if you have two psukim, the Torah sometimes repeats itself. Maybe let's learn from Avodah Zarah and Shemitah. Says Gemara mi'uteksiv. Here it's different. Each one of these psukim, there's a word there that says it's limited only to here. Hu, as if to say it's limited only to Avodah Zarah. By Avodah Zarah, kichedim hu, that which you swapped it to, right? It should be chedim. Okay, possibly this says yovel he in midachin, nothing else. So now the Mishnah continues. But what happens if, before we learned if you're Makadish or things which are asabano, we had a discussion if you're Makadish, Maisa Shani, an argument of Yehuda Meir, we had a discussion if you're Makadish with Hegdish, B'Shegi, made a distinction. What about Hamikadish betrumas of a maisis? You're a kohen and you receive truma, you receive maisis, so it's yours. Of course, you can Makadish to her. She's a bash so she can take it and sell it and use that money. But what happens? You Makadish her with truma, you Makadish her with maisis, matanis, the matanis guna, which is the zroya and the lechaim, the foreleg and the jaw and all the cheeks and all that. If you gave, which belongs to a kohen, you gave that to a woman. When you have a para aduma, so you have first of all that special water that spring water, and then you also have to take the ashes of the para that you burnt and put it into that water. So you mekadosh with the mechatas. Actually, are we talking about the actual mechatas or the pay? As we'll see later, it looks like the pay. Rashi learns the pay that you get for working with the mechatas. You pass it on to her, or you give her the mechatas that she should be able to sell it or whatever, get paid for whatever work you're doing. Or the eifachata, the ash of the chatas. In all these instances, because you gave us something tangible of value. Vafili Yisrael, even if you're a Yisrael. Now, what do you mean truma? When Yisrael, what truma does Yisrael have? Yisrael has to give it to a kohen. He has no ownership. So right now, the Gemara thinks that what rights does a Yisrael have over truma? He has to set aside the 2%, let's say, and give it to the different amounts we learned before, and give it at the beginning of the second page, and give it to a kohen. So what do you mean he gives it to a woman and she's mekudesh with it? How? Because he has a right. The right is toivas hana. He can determine which kohen to give it to because he wants to curry the favor of that particular kohen. So, and in fact, like sometimes a grandfather who has a grandson, a kohen, would go and give money to do me a favor. Here's a dinner. I want you to give all your trimmers to my grandson, so you can make money on this distribution. That toivas hana. That is a schus that you have. And it seems from our Mishnah here that schus is worth money, worth a pruta, and therefore you give it to her. Now she can decide who to give the truma to, and therefore you gave her something of value. That's how we think in the beginning, and the Gemara will say later, no, or lav dafka. Why I love dafka? We'll see in a minute. You know why I love dafka? Because Ula comes along and says that is intangible. That right that you have to determine who you give the truma to is not something of value that you can say you can measure it, and therefore it's not something that you can say, oh, I have something, I have a chelik in this truma and I'm passing it on to the woman. So but the Mishnah clearly says you could. Rabbi asked the question. I'm a kaddish, but truma of a meises and matonim. Mishnah clearly says we gave her truma. She's mekudesh. Va'afil Yisrael. Now Yisrael, what do you mean? What's Yisrael giving to this woman? Obviously, he's giving her the right that he had, and it's obviously it's worth a prut because to marry a woman, you have to have something of value. He said to him, "Halcha b'Yisrael shenaflu, nothing to do with that. This yid actually owns the truma, and he can therefore sell it and on the market and make something. Now, how in the world can a Yisrael own truma if his grandfather was a kohen, his mother? Yeah, exactly. His grandfather was a kohen, and he died. So the kohen gets, and his mother the heir. So therefore, the grandson, who's a Yisrael, yashes it. So now he owns a truma, and that's what he's giving to her. So but we're not talking about that the grandfather died and left him truma. Then what's the chiddush in our Mishnah? It's like anything else. It has value. You need to tell me that if I own truma, I can give it to a woman. We're talking about here that the truma was not separated yet. So we're going to enter now another discussion. And that is when you have in front of you, let's say, a couple of kadma, a certain measure of crop, and you have to give truma from it, you have to give meiser from it. How do we view it? It's called matanis shaloi hurmu. The truma you haven't separated yet, the meiser you haven't separated. Do we look at it and say, there's 90% whatever chulin and 10% meiser and whatever 88% and 2%? How do? Or we say no. At the moment, all we have here is tevel. There's no truma here. There's no meiser, nothing. It's only when you separate it, that's when it becomes truma. So if we learn that it's only when you separate it. So at the moment, right now, it's tevel. So when the grandfather died and the Yisrael, the grandson Yash is a tevel, but he has no truma there. He has no right. The only thing he'll have is the right to give the truma, and we just said tevis in a moment. We're talking about according to the opinion that says matanas shaloi humu kahuma damim. That these matanas as if we already separated. So the grandfather who was a kohen, as if already separated truma. So therefore, the child yashed the truma. Either truma wasn't separated yet, but it's in that mixture, and he has that 2% of truma or that 10% of ma'aser, and he gives it to the woman. And what's he giving? Not the right; he's giving the actual truma because he already has the truma, and he doesn't have to give it to a kohen because his father, even though he didn't separate, his father already has it. But what about ma'aser? So Maisa, Rashi says exactly the same story, because Maisa can go to Rashi says after the Takon of Ezra, he was so angry with Levine. He says that Kohanim can also have the Truma. So there was, we had a machlek. Rabbi Kiva says Kohanim can always have Maisa, and according to Rabbi Mazaya, the Kohanim had no right to Maisa. But after the story of the Levim refusing to join Ezra to go to Yerushalayim, they got penalized that the Kohanim also can get Maisa. According to Rabbi Kiva, they got penalized that only the Kohanim get Maisa. Previously, they both were able to get it. Now only the Kohanim. But bottom line is the Kohen also has the rights to the Maisa. So when this guy's grandfather died, the Truma and the Maisa, as if they were separated already, belong to the Kohen, and he passes it down. Because that means the Kohen really has to separate Maisa. There's a big discussion generally. Does a Kohen have to give Maisa to a Levi? Because and it sounds from this Gemara here, when the Kohen has to give Ma'aser to a Levi, the question is only what's it doing by the Kohen? Then you have to give it to the Levi. So we're saying no, the grandfather Kohen did the Ma'aser as well, because after the penalty with Ezra, where Kohenim now have a right to keep the Ma'aser that they would have given to a Levi. That's what Rashi clearly holds, that Kohenim have to give Ma'aser. So let's do the Gemara. No, he's a Yisrael. He has to give it to. He can sell it. He doesn't have to give it to anybody. He can sell it. Exactly. So it has value. Or take out he can separate the meiser. And not only would give it, he can sell it in the market because it's already truma. When the grandfather, yeah, of course, it's truma. Yeah, fine, but you still have price. Why wouldn't they buy it? Okay, let's continue. The Gemara. So again. Yisrael Yashin's grandfather. The Kasavar, we follow the view Matanish Lahuma Kimisha Hurmidam. In the grandfather's while the grandfather was alive, when he had this table, as if the grandfather already received his truma and his meiser. Asked a question. Tell me, what's the law? That right, is it worth money or not? We learned in the Mishnah. I said, this is what Rabbi answered. So clearly that what? But the right is worth something. So he asked back, nothing to do. It's talking about a grandfather who already was a kohen, and therefore it's as if he separated. He said to him, walk away from this kind of explanation. He was embarrassed, but I was embarrassed. He thought, what? Some of my shot here in the Mishnah. Who saw him? He thought he said to him, walk away from the sugya, as if he said to him, you're not a smart man, you have no idea how to learn the Mishnah. So he got very insulted. No, that's not what I meant. He said, I meant Asi, the Hutzel Koikavasech. Hutza, I meant Hutzel. The guy from Hutzel, the citizen from Hutzel, the famous citizen, he learns Pshat the Mishnah exactly like you, but I don't. I learned the Mishnah is talking about Tevis Hana. Nothing was a Zayd in the Baba. I'm talking about Tevis Hana, and from here my proof. I learned that Tevis Hana. That Huna says that Tevis Hana is money, and my proof is the Mishnah because he gave it to the woman she's a Kiddush. And other people say no, Tevis Hana is not money. And if you hold Tevis Hana has no value, then what is Shat in the Mishnah? You have to learn as a Zayd. So the two ways to learn Shat in the Mishnah. That's all I was saying. He said. Says the Gemara, so let us say it's a machlekes tanoim. This concept, and we had the same Gemara in the Durham, and goes as follows: let's say I stole your tevel, and the tevel is worth $100, but in that tevel you have 2% truma, 10% ma'aser rishon, and 10% see those 12% is mishal. How much I pay? The owner of this tevel, how much I pay him? I pay him the 88% of the value, or I pay him the full value? The Mishaloid made Tivlish you pay the full amount. Only the chul is wide. So what's going on in my lab? That's exactly the argument. One of them holds that the Tevis is worth money, so the guy owns the entire tevel. You got to pay him the full amount. Well, Masava Tevis is any moment. No one holds no. Tevis is not worth anything. So what does the owner have in this tevel? What's his? 88%. Big Machlek is a shaynim according to one who holds the Tevis is moment and it says that you got to pay the tevel. What are you paying? The Tevis Anah part of it, or the actual full value of the truma? The Behed and the Ran in the Dorim, a big machlek is showing him how much do you pay of that amount? Because it sounds from just reading taking Bryce literally, it sounds like you pay for the full amount, which means that once the guy has rights in it, he has it all. Anyway, the Gemara give a number of other ways to learn.
In what it's worth. So 88% of costs, whatever.
Is chulin. They say chulin part. Yeah, but if some say it's a tevis enough the value, so let's say the 12%, you don't give the full 12%. What's the tevis enough that 12%? So it might be half of that. Exactly. Others say no. Once I have a right in that, you got to pay for the whole amount.
But isn't tevis that this guy will enjoy more than that guy?
Yeah. So
how do you set up the price on tevis enough?
That's exactly. Oh, so maybe you have to give him a prut or. How do you, Rashi example, I think the person will give a dinner or a prut. I can't remember what Rashi says. We had a few places. A dinner or a prut. What a person would pay the kohen. If I give my grandson, he's a kohen, and give him.
The guy has a kohen or a chaver that he wants to.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's some we're talking about the right to make the decision.
Yeah, I don't know how you value it. Maybe you got to have a business. I don't know. Said the Gemara, I'll give you a number of other alternative ways to understand pshat. No, right from there. Like no, way number one. Kuli al when whole times in a moment. No, the right is not something that has value. It's not tangible. Like you said, how do you measure it? I'm talking about the case we said before. The grandfather passed away, and the argument is it matonish lahurma kimishurma damin. That's the argument. Dewey says if the grandfather already received the truma, and therefore the grandfather received the truma, the grandson yarshins the truma of it, and therefore he owns it, and he can give, and therefore there's something there, and that's why the person who stole it has to pay back this Yisrael not only for the chulin part but also for the truma and the ma'aser. And almost no, it was never separated in the lifetime of the grandfather, and therefore the grandson only yarshins the chulin part of it. The rest is only the rights. The rights is not worth money. It's as if it's separate. One holds now. Another alternative. Everyone holds everyone holds as if it's separate. But Tevis and in a moment. Tevis and has no value, but it's separate. If it's separated, what's the argument? So the Ganef should have to pay for everything because the guy, the Yisrael, owns the chulin, but he also owns the truma because the grandfather with the kohen as if it's separated. Arguing in the very din of Shmuel, which is the Amar Shmuel. Chita achas pateres is a keri. Mahatorah, how much truma do you have to give? One kernel of weight. It's the Rabbanon who came along and said give either a 40th, a 50th, or a 60th. And the argument is whether that's right or not. If you hold chita achas pateres a keri, so you say it's as if it's separated. How much is separated? Only one chita. And the rest, what do you call it? And that's all it is. That's all I have to give. And the other one disagrees with that. So the Gemara, so no, like this. The victim says, the nigger says, oh, I only have to give one term. I only have to give one term. We say it's nav commotion hermadam. So I have to give the term right now. But how much term do I have to give? One kernel of wheat. So I own 99.999% of this mixture. And the other one says, no, you don't hold the shmul chitach b'telekli. You got to give the full 2% and so on and so forth. Yeah, but this is only works on truma. Doesn't work on meises. We're talking about truma now. Yeah. Now, there's a big machlekes. Now that the Rabbanan came along and said that you have to give a 40th and 60th, does that therefore mean Matzah also it's no longer chitachas? Or Matzah still remains chitachas only with the Rabbanan? Then there are Rishonim, Tesarid, and other Rishonim who make a Kiddush, and they talked about also in the cases Ksuvas, and that is that there are two parts of Truma. There's two mitzvahs. One is the hafrasha, one is the sinim. When we say, because the sinim means usually a double choshev. When we say that chitach that's the hafrasha, you can separate it, you can eat. In other words, there's no longer tevel. But the mitzvah of giving truma, you're not yaitzu chitachas. You got to give the 40th or 50th or 60th because there's two separate mitzvahs. There's one the sinner and there's one hafrasha. It's not one mitzvah, two parts of one mitzvah. It's two separate mitzvahs. And therefore, when Shmuel says chitachas poiteres zakri, you're talking about poiteres zakri, that you can go ahead and eat the tevel, no longer tevel. And that's as far as the Ganim is concerned, that's all that matters. But now that you have a mitzvah of giving truma, you got to give the bigger amounts. Second about it further, everybody. Another way of learning it is kuli amal don't agree with Shmuel. No one agrees with Shmuel. So if so, then the Gana didn't steal the truma because loy hurma damyan. Why should he pay for the whole amount? The konsura bon the Gana. We penalize the Gana. We penalize him for what he did. Why should he gain? Why should he gain? Or he buys him kuli amal. Well, does agree with Shmuel. So the chayda really, the nigniv should be able to collect the full amount. How come there's an opinion that says no? We punish the balabayis. Why? Why you let it hang around your house? As soon as it's table, you should have given the coin separate straight away. And because you're a procrastinator, therefore we penalize you. Talking about time, but look now, Mishnah Hamikadish betrumas over meises over matanas b'meichatas over efa potter. What do you mean? Hadei leshes. Alpha patient so. What do you mean you're giving her efa potter? Sounds like you're giving her the wage, the money that you can make, either that you made or the money that you made from it. And you're giving that to her, but where did you get the money from? Because you worked with the Eifa Pora, you worked that, they paid you for it, or it's because what do you call it? You give it to her that she can get paid, for working with it. But let me ask you a question. We learned if you take money for a mitzvah, dina betelim, his psukim are useless. If a dayan comes and charges money for a thing, not because of shaykh, even if you pay both dayanim, because yet ma'ani bechinum had money. When you do a mitzvah, you're not allowed to charge for it. Then we had the different when you're teaching. You're not allowed to charge. And the machlekes are showing, we say din of betalim, only the ones that he charged money for, all dinim is bottom. If he takes money to testify, then his edus is bottled. If he returns the money back, then he can go sededus. Not because you have a problem with edus, it's because ma'ani bechinam af atem bechinam. Lahazes or lekadish meimel. If he goes ahead and takes money to sprinkle or to make the mechatas, may matter his water may matter like cave water, worthless. A 40 ava mikla, and the ash is just pure ash. In other words, you rob the mitzvah. So what's he giving to the woman? If he is either he took money according to the Summer or that he has the right to take money, gave it to her, said, "Look, you can get paid for doing this and this." I'll take money for these things. Depends. To bring it and carry it and fill it, that's anything which requires a tircha you're allowed to charge for. Anything which is not a tircha, the mitzvah itself, you're not allowed to charge. And therefore, what's he giving her? The schar haba mila. And this is like sort of the head for dayanim. We had also shnei dayanim. How can dayanim charge? We're talking about dayanim who schar batala. They could have had another job, or if that's their full-time job, they work for the community. They're dayanim, then they'll get paid because you keep them away from other work. Take it out. It says here it talks about there it says lahazas lekadish. Obviously, we're not talking about the same thing. You're talking about carrying it, and therefore there's money involved, and you're allowed to take that money. And they're talking about the mitzvah itself. Next page. The guy says friend, and you're going to wonder why it says here friend, and other times we say shliach. Go ahead and mekadosh me this woman. And look at the chutzpah. He saw the woman, beautiful woman. He decided, you know what, you're mekadosh to me. Mekudesh is l'sheni. She's mekudesh to the second person. And there's a whole machlekes. What happens? She says, "I thought I'd be mekudesh to the first person. You came to me and you proposed, and then you said, I thought you were talking about the first guy." And he says, "No, I'm talking about me." What happens then? Do we say that he's not allowed to marry her craving and she's not allowed to marry his craving? Others say no. In this case, you need both on the same page and not both on the same page. And Big Machlek is showing him whether when she appoints, the Rambam holds that when she appoints shliach like Kabbalah the Kiddushin, she has to have edim. When the husband appoints a shliach to halacha, doesn't need edim. In other words, if there are edim there involved, what's going on here? What did the edim know? What the condition are? Obviously, he hadn't clearly spoken out who she is marrying, and therefore each one lady interprets it differently. A man says to the woman, "What if a man says to the woman, you're mekudesh me after 30 days?" Came along another person, Shimon, and day number 10, he gave a Kiddushin. The Kodesh is l'shein, Mekudesh is the second person. Big Machlek is a shayim in the Rashba, the Ramban, and the Rambam. What's the logic in here? Is the vort that by her taking the second Kiddushin as if she's saying, tantamount to saying, I'm not interested anymore, I changed my mind about the first Kiddushin. Therefore, she canceled it. So if the second guy dies, there's still nothing to talk about the first Kiddushin. Or the vort, she's sort of hedging her bets. If this guy is going to live more than 30 days, then I'm happy with the second guy. But if the second guy dies within 30 days or he changes his mind, I want to stick with the first guy. I want to have something. Yeah.
In the first case, it's oimer the isha. All he's done is amira. In the second case, is bo'ach bekidsha. He's actually done a ma'aseh kiddushin. He gave her a chayfetz to shabbat.
Yeah, but oimer is worthless.
That's what I'm saying.
No, so oimer means.
Therefore, the other guy comes up.
Okay, true. Well, true. But over here, oimer means actually gave kiddushin. Otherwise, there's nothing to talk about. Bas Yisrael the Kohen did Truma. She's definitely mekudesh. It's not only a suffix, and therefore she's a Bas Yisrael. Married the second guy's a Kohen. She can eat Truma. What about me'ach shavalach? He said the first guy said you're mekudesh me from now until after 30 days. Now, what exactly means? We'll have more machlekes later. Whether it means he changed his mind or it means I want to start right now and to complete in the end of 30 days. Another guy came along and gave her a straight out Kiddushin 30 days within 30 days. The Kadesh and Kadesh, we're not sure. We're not sure that the first guy sort of, when he's free said Achshav, then says Achshav, maybe he changed his mind. He said, no, I'm not Mekudesh yet. Let's wait 30 days. Therefore, the second guy is totally Mekudesh. Or maybe he was not changed his mind. He's saying, after 30 days, it's retrospective. And therefore, the second guy's Kiddush is not, so it's a suffix. Can I get Truma? Because we don't know which one she's engaged to. Says the Gemara, we learned, Masha Asa, this Shliach, or this friend, a friend, what he did was unethical. Totally unethical. But legally, it's effective. What can you do? But Ami just says halach. He went means he did not do the right thing, and morally he did the wrong thing. But it's a kedusha. And I'm going to ask a side issue. Why over here it says you said to your friend? Well, we learned over there. Tony, we learned. If you tell your shliach, go to that in that city, and I want you to go ahead and mekadosh the woman. And he goes to another city, he's not Mekudesh. Remember, Rabbi Shimon says, Mara Mokamla, just telling you where to find her. But the other town says, no, if I told you go to that city. But there we talk about Shliach, and here we use a friend. Why change? So each one is a Chiddush. Here the Chiddush is, had it said, Shliach, I never thought, when is it unethical? I sent you as a shliach, I sent you as my proxy, and you go ahead and behind my back, you go ahead and you get engaged to yourself. The Samcha Daita, I was sure you do it for me. So I was sure you're going to do my shlichus. So that's unethical. I just asked my friend a favor, do me a favor. You're there anyway. The Samcha Daita, it wasn't 100% relying that this person will carry out. I just asked a favor. It makes it not unethical. Okay, so that's why it says even so, it's unethical. By the case where I tell you where to go, also Chiddush. I would have said, I told my friend, go to that town. Maybe my friend, if he goes to some other town, he's not Mekudesh. I want you to go to this town. The Sava Letarach, because I was sure that you're not going to. You're there anyway. I asked you a favor. To expect you to go travel to another town, that I never expected because I didn't commission you to do it. But a shliach, I know that you're going to help me out because I made you my shliach, and if the woman is not this town, in another town, I should have expected that you will go to other towns. So maybe in that case, it would have been a good shlichus when you got me engaged in another town. Now, why am I so particular? If you remember, the Gemara said before, I'm particular about this town because this town they all love me. They say nice things about me. But if you go to the other town and you propose to her, and she'll ask people, you know, Yankel, and they'll say, oh, Aganif. So therefore, I'm very makpid. Rabbi Chassid, talking about unethical. Rabbi Chassid, Ozel Kiddushin eats. So this is a difficult Gemara to understand. And the Gemara says that either Rabbi Amram or Rabbi Chassid, he went to a town to Mekadesh a woman for his son. His son asked my favorite. You go into the town, find me a woman or whatever, a certain particular woman. He went to her kitchen and nafshe. He decided to take it for himself. So the Gemara, how can you behave that way? It's unethical. Yeah, he's chassid, yeah. The families rejected the proposal to the son. He said, okay, I'll take it. You just try to work practically. The father has to be, 13 years older than the son? No, maybe a bit more. And so this girl is the boy is not suitable, but she's happy to marry somebody, 20 years a senior. Okay. Says the Gemara, but still it's unethical because the boy later do what he should have done is go back to say, look, I'm sorry, but then I should then go back and propose. Says the Gemara, it's different. We had Gemara Cotton, they have a concept, that if you have an opportunity, seize the moment, especially when it comes to Kiddushin, because somebody else might, if you would have gone home and then go back, by then she might have been engaged. And even though we learned
once he married her, the son has no chance.
The son, once the family rejected, it's not unethical. Could be, but it's not unethical anymore. The unethical part is he should have at least told the son beforehand, so he shouldn't have any kindness, terumas to him. And even though we said before that 40 days before a child is born is ready to determine who marries who, but we had in Marmai Cotton that if somebody through davening very hard can change that thing. So therefore, if a proposal comes up for a nice shidduch, don't procrastinate. Another example.
Son is misgegangen. Guess what?
I mean, just try to picture that. Rabba Baba Chana Yov Lezuzah Rab. Rabba Baba Chana gave money to Rab. He said to him, do me a favor. I want you to go and buy this piece of parcel of land on my behalf. Also, Rab went and bought it for himself. I mean, you start thinking this is Rab. What's going on here? Business is business. But Tanya is it's unethical. This was a region that all the people were very strong-handed, and there's no way in the world that they would sell to this to Rabbi Bachana. So therefore, Rav said, whatever reason they respected Rav, they had no cheres to Rabbi Bachana. So anybody boy, let do it. At least he should have first gone to Rabbi Bachana and tell what happened. So that's how Rav come in the meantime and. Sorry? Oh, 1 second. They could unsell it him, but then he wants to make a profit. To turn over, what's it called? When you turn over a house and flipping, that's it. Rav Gidel have a mahapich bahi ara. Rav Gidel was looking in a particular place for something. Now I'll tell you the big machlek is Rashi and Rabbi Tam here. Ozl Rab Abba, he was looking for something to according to Rashi to find. He was fossicking. He was fossicking, he was scavenging, he was looking around.
He wants to buy the place.
Yeah, sorry, 1 second, yeah. You're right, sorry, yeah. He wanted to buy it for a certain place. He wanted to buy a piece of land. Sorry, I jumped to the next one. He wanted to buy a piece of land. Also, Rabba Zovna. Rabba went and bought the land himself. Now, all that Gidel did was he was doing homework, doing research, and everything else. Also, Rav Gidel covered Rav Zeda. Rav Gidel went and complained to Rav Zeda. He usurped me. Also, gesamt me. Also, Rab Zeda went to Rabbi Chanafka and he presented the case of what do you do here? In this case, Rab Gidel was trying to buy the land and Rabbi bought it. Did Rabbi do anything wrong? Wait, wait, Yom Tov, when everybody comes here for Yachikala, I'll talk to him. Kisolig, when he came up, Rabbi came up, Ashkechei, so Rabbi Chanafka met him. Amalei, let me ask a question. I want to shine halacha. Oni mahapich bechara. This is what I was talking about. An other man, a poor person, was looking for a biscuit. According to Rashi, it was hefker, and he was looking for it. Or a matana, he was trying to get a matana, or buying something. And came and usurped him, took it in front of him. My. Did the second guy do anything wrong or not? Russia. He's called a Russia. And why? Because he's taking away the parnos of his friend, which is a little bit hard to understand when you're looking for a metzia. How can you call him you're taking away his parnos? Nobody knows what find a metzia. But anyway, So that's the question. Okay, sounds good. My time of it, you just did that. Rav Gidl wanted to buy a property, and you bought it. Amalei, have you dined? It's news to me. I didn't know that he was looking for the property. So he said, "No, Hashtanami Nation Elimar." He said, "Okay, so sell it to him, flip it, but don't make a profit. Give it to him. Now that you know you did the wrong thing." Now this is a very interesting Gemara, not brought in the Rambam because the Rambam never brings these kind of Gemaras. Tell him I can't sell it to him. The Ara Kamaisi, it's the first property I ever bought. The Loi Misamna Milson. It's not a good omen of the first property you ever bought. You sell it. Don't sell it. You can give it away, but don't sell it. E-boy, Matana Nishkla. I'm happy to give it to him as a gift. But yeah, I'm not going to sell it because it's a bad omen. Nobody ever heard of this bad omen of selling the first property you ever had. So the Gemara, Rav Gidl refused to go there. He refused to take it as a matana. I'm happy to buy it, but I'm not, because I was looking for it anyway, but I am not going to take it as a gift. Why? That if you don't take presents, you live a much longer life. As Samer in Shulchan explains, then you're not beholden to anybody. And you can be objective and so on. And nobody owns you. That's right. So what happened? Rab Abba refused to move into the house. He felt terrible. He felt terrible. Rav Gidl was looking for the house and he did the wrong thing, so he refused to move into the house. Rav Gidl neither one wanted to move in the house. Rav Abba didn't move in the house because he did the wrong thing. Rav Gidl didn't want to move in the house because he did not want it as a gift. He only was wanting to buy it. And that house became known as Ada de Rabbanim. This is the land that belongs to the rabbis in plural because neither of them.
They both try to push it on the other one.
Yeah. Now, what's the big machlek is Rashi ben Tam? Rashi holds that this law of anim happy b'charora is even if somebody's trying to buy something, which is the case we have over here, and you're not allowed to gazump them. You're definitely not allowed to gazump them if you know that they're trying to buy it. But I guess in a place like here where the whole thing is set up as an auction, so that's how it works. But if somebody is trying to ingratiate himself to somebody to give me a gift, the guy is getting old, no children, give me your will, something. Put me in your will, or give me a gift, or you're scavenging, you're fasting, looking for I don't know, for sapphires out there somewhere in the hills in West Australia. So according to Rashi, that's called onim hapi b'charora. And you're called a Russia if you go in the same area where that person is, or you talk to the same person who's trying to, being a gray. If somebody's trying to get his money a gift, you're trying to get the person as well to give you a gift. Rabbeinu Tam says, "That's a tug." Rabbeinu Tam says, "I'll prove it to you." The Gemara Mitzvah will have. We bring down the Gemara Paya that if somebody if a poor person sees a Mitzvah, throws a talus on it, since it's not a kinyan, you can come over and take it away. But it's only Mahabim Charara. He put a towel on it. What clearer sign you need than that he wants it? Is that Raya and the main time the logic is very simple. When is it cruel if the guy buys something? You could buy it somewhere else. Why buy it here? Buy it somewhere else. But when it comes to a mitzvah, what do you mean? Find somewhere else. If this is if you're looking, what do you mean find somewhere else? How do you find things somewhere else? Maybe this is an area of fasting, whatever it is. So therefore, there's no onim happen in somewhere else. So then, Rabbein Tam makes a distinction. If a person has a malamed working for him, every school has a right to pinch the malamed. But if there's what do you call it? If a malamed is working in school and I walk over to the school and say, I'm a better teacher, get rid of that malamed, that's onim happen because he's working already and I'm taking away his panosa, then it might be a problem. Maybe there's a problem, not a problem.
What about for one school to approach someone who's working in another one? Is that the same issue?
Same thing. You're allowed to take because I can say that not every teacher is I can't say go somewhere else. You can't tell me go somewhere else and find another teacher because not every teacher has this gula to go ahead and work with this particular person, and therefore I have the right to go ahead and pinch that whatever teacher. But for me to push somebody else who has a job already, push somebody else out. Because I could find a job somewhere else. Now, so that's called onim habacharada. This is only by an oni, by the way. A rich person can buy anywhere else except property. Property is the only thing that say even a rich person. I need to live near this house. I want a house right over here. You can't say go somewhere else. Buy a land. You have a lot of money, but this house, you can't pick it, move around. One thing I did miss out is interesting. At the end of the last Pedic, one of the Rishonim quotes another Rishon, which we don't have the original, but it talks about if a doctor has the right to charge money, since it's a mitzvah to cure, and the mitzvah is hashavas haveda. If I have a mitzvah of returning financial object to you, surely I have a mitzvah to turn your life to you, restore your life. So does a doctor have a right to charge money for their medicine and everything else? So and this is like this, to charge for his skills, you can't. Because that's the mitzvah. Mani bechinim avata bechinim. You can charge only things which have a tircha. Like over here, the Gemara makes a difference. Like Abai made a difference if it's something that requires effort or something that doesn't require effort. So by a doctor, you have to work out what requires effort. Call out fee, or maybe paying for the house, for the building, and all the other expenses and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so it's interesting conundrum. I don't know about an eye doctor if that's included or not. There's a mitzvah the rappers, but I guess there is. So you're charging for all the hard work that you have to do, to drive to the office, to drive back home. Sorry?
And the secretaries, etc.
Yeah, and get on insurance. And actually, this Rishon actually talks about it. If the doctor makes an error, charge, can you malpractice? Is there malpractice suit? Basically, it says that if the doctor is skilled, there's no malpractice, especially if it was conferred upon him a license but the doctor's not really skilled and decides to go ahead and dish out the prescription and everything else. You have every right to, and he's liable for anything that goes wrong. Very interesting, which is very similar to what the world does today.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah.